Okay, a few weeks back, I said that Mads is probably the weirdest looking group in One Piece, and I was not prepared for how correct I was. Caesar looks like a young Mizbakin with hints of Brule. Judge looks like a fake Sanji mixed with ugly Duval. Vegapunk looks like a mistake. And Queen, well, to be honest, Queen looks kind of badass. He's rocking the Patara earrings, giving shades of young Moria fused with Kid. Again, a very weird lineup, but imagine how interesting it was coming to work every day. The other woman there is pretty much all but confirmed, in my opinion, to be Stissy. The attire in the cover story pretty much matches what she normally wears, and the knowledge she had about everything in Egghead, it just would make a ton of sense. Not sure where this Mad story is going, but Oda's again tying things from the cover story into the canon story, and it's genius because he's covering multiple relevant storylines each week, and how can you not love that? The most shocking thing here is easily Judge. You can see why you would hate on Sanji. He looks like a loser, let me be honest. But I also like the random two other guys. They kind of look like what we thought Vegapunk would look like, so that's interesting. I also hope that subscribe button is the way I thought it would look like. Grayed out because you hit it. It's not ready. Yeah, hit that button. You may have watched a few videos. Didn't realize you're not subscribed, hit it. We greatly appreciate it. And now let's get to 1070. I know I'm hoping most people did not think Sentomaru was dead, but for the select few who actually thought this, you must be new around here, because ain't no way you went through Wano and expected the greatest defense to be penetrated by a cat. Okay, he was penetrated. Even after seeing it coming and using his defense, I mean, Rob was just too much for him. We're at a weird impasse where I wonder about Kizaru coming to Egghead and seeing his dear nephew laid out. Like, what is he gonna tell his sister? Is what I would say if I believe that it was his actual nephew. I don't think they're related. I believe it's just honorifics, and Kizaru will not care one bit. The sideshow of Rob Lucci versus Luffy, which understandably dominated the conversation in this chapter, it seemed pointless considering the vast difference in ability that Oda is showing here, which was always the case, but Oda wants the general fandom to kind of hold Rob Lucci in a decent to high regard, but those interactions may have done the opposite. I promise, bro. I see through it though, okay? The goal was to make Rob Lucci seem stronger, but not really able to compete with a Yonko, and Luffy, without the use of Future Sight or any noticeable Conqueror's Haki usage, floored Lucci, as expected. But Lucci's goal did kind of shift to taking out Sentomaru, but he had to. He wasn't going to take out Luffy. I mean, booming White Whip does make me uncomfortable for, well, reasons, but Gear 5 continues to be a marvel. It is so damn strong. It's even crazier that Lucci was back up after that onslaught, but that is on brand for an awakened Zoan. Gear 5 presents East Blue antics with New World results. Luffy can be as goofy as he wants, using the ground as projectiles after crushing it with his teeth, because he's in his most free form. I mean, the tone of everything for me personally will still take some getting used to, but objectively, this is far and away Luffy's best form to date. I mean, I do enjoy base form fighting and the aesthetics, but you can't deny how absolutely dominant Gear 5 is. It's fitting that he turned into a small typhoon in a chapter that couldn't be stopped even by himself, because that's what Gear 5 is. It's a whirlwind of goofy chaos that on its surface looks childlike in nature, but it made Rob Lucci hazy rather quickly. The Seraphim are not fair, and I must admit, after 956, I was wondering what the world government was doing, because you just let the world's greatest swordsman just walk away, and what could you possibly have to fill that gap? How about another world's greatest swordsman, or just a copy of him, but now he has a devil fruit? Yes, it was not confirmed or shown yet, but come on. The warlords presented so many variables and disadvantages that you definitely questioned their use. And the Seraphim, they removed most of that, but it still has issues, right? The warlords, for the most part, were unreliable at best and reputation killing at worst. They were unhinged, out of control, and pretty much untrustworthy, okay? You never knew what their purpose was, and you really didn't know if you could depend on them, even though they were so imperative to maintaining the balance. Now, you can pretty much match that power, if not supersede it, while having somewhat blind loyalty, but I did mention almost all the issues were taken care of because, well, they have multiple people who can control these little monsters, and a few of them, well, they're trying to kill. Well, that's my issue with this plan. You didn't see it through well enough. You sent assassins for Vegapunk without truly having the assets in hand. Why not be a bit more patient and secure the assets first? And I suppose that's why you send CP0, but that's exactly why you don't send them. Everyone knows they're bad news. All that to say, the Seraphim are indeed the strongest beings in existence, because Holy. Now, Oda is still teasing us, like I mentioned, about what S-Hawk's Devil Fruit power is, but based on what we learned in this chapter, I think we can give a good guess, and we'll save that for later. But the kids, they're probably as strong as Yonko commanders. They're strong commanders, by the way, and they're so young and inexperienced. Kaku confirmed that they were unstoppable, and he said even if they knew how to stop them, they would still lose. Or rather, how to destroy them, they would still lose. And again, they're still just kids, right? What I love from this chapter is the Devil Fruit information. It seems Oda is going to slow play all of this, and I'm here for it because it's not an overload of information. He's just giving us pertinent details when it becomes relevant. Like Frankie, we're all wondering about Senior Pink, right? Did they kill him? Are they using science to recreate the effects of the fruit? No. It is the Devil Fruit and Senior Pink is alive. They just found another way to harness that power. I think the main takeaway with fruits before we break it down is to strip away what you think you know about Devil Fruits, because Vegapunk is pushing the envelope with all of it. So Zoan fruits. Punk confirms that this is the only type that can be manufactured. He then references Caesar's usage of the smiles and he calls it bad. He then confirms that he could recreate special types of devil fruits with enough time and resources, which we're assuming are the mythical Zoan types, but he wasn't sure if those recreations could awaken. Made me think of Momonosuke and everything he was able to do, and pretty much this is Oda confirming that Momo, based on everything he did, is not an awakened mythical Zoan user, because we still don't know if it's possible. That just makes story sense, right? Logia fruits are confirmed to be almost impossible to recreate, as he states he did his best, and from what we can tell, that involves creating lasers from Kizaru's power, which makes sense. I mean, recreating that power and intangibility that the Logia fruits bring about, I mean, it seems all but impossible. Would be dope, but seeing Pacifista turn intangible and attack people, whew, which, I mean, I'll talk about that a bit later, but the biggest breakthrough is easily paramecia, as like Senior Pink's powers, they can harness this through means other than eating the fruit, which is by creating this green blood from a paramecia user's lineage factor, and it gives a person or thing that has this blood coursing through their veins access to that paramecia power. Yeah, this tells me, though, that the composition of each type of user is different. Right? Each type of devil fruit user is different, or else the green blood should work the same for every type. If you have a Logia's lineage factor and that blood flowing through your veins, you should be able to use that type, but you can't. So Paramecia, Logia, and even Mythical Zoan, that lineage factor is different for each of them. So it's a completely different mutation. It is possible that Logias affect the body on an even deeper level past the blood, and I think the mere thought of that is crazy. I mean, this breakthrough via the devil fruits have made pretty much any paramecia power they have access to possible. I mean, at first the thought of Law's Opi Opi no Mi was not making sense, as we were trying to figure out how they would harness such a complicated ability, but whatever they can use to make green blood, if they can get that from Law, this could make things interesting, because if he indeed is a Seraphim that was created, this does bring up questions like the immortality surgery or even the soul switching, and maybe that's the reason why Oda is going to keep hands off with Law, because so many things could go wrong or right depending on who's using that power. Again, Vegapunk dubbing these creations for being the most powerful beings in the history of the sea doesn't just speak to their current strength, but what they could be. Okay, they have the devil fruits, the durability, the potential. They could be unstoppable. The Straw Hats, and justifiably so, are spooked. And they're shook, because all these things will be their obstacles. As confident as Vegapunk is in his ability and what could happen, they, the world government, will retain control, and the Seraphim will stand in the way of pirates. That's just what's gonna happen. We saw pretty much half of the crew, including Sanji, struggle against S-Shark. This is a Yonko crew, and S-Shark is still a kid without any experience. Just the gravity of what I'm explaining is scaring me, considering that we know they had Kaido's DNA, so we could have an S-Dragon that's a part of the final war using his actual devil fruit. So I don't have to explain just how nuts that could be. There was something a bit weird in the chapter that some people pointed out, and I must do the same. Well, S-Snake has the same fruit as her progenitor in Boa Hancock, and we know for this fruit, infatuation and attraction are things that enhance the fruit, right? So S-Snake used Mero, which for this attack, anyone with impure thoughts or lust is turned to stone. At least that's how it worked for the original Hancock. For S-Snake being a literal child, even though she's large, some people found issue with this, and I guess I could see why. My justification, right, was that it could function different for S-Snake, and even if you find her cute or adorable, you get turned to stone as well. I don't want to harp on it. I just want to point it out. Think what you want. Just Putting it out there. I gotta say, the more I see Luffy creating goggles out of thin air, the more I think it's pretty freaking awesome, as this enhances the attack on Lucci, which, I mean, that's what Gear 5 does. It knocks out Awaken Zones for a bit and has a Band-Aid manifest almost immediately. Yo, I always thought that was funny in One Piece. After a giant battle, a character would have one small Band-Aid on their cheek to signify, hey, this person was hurt, but it's now fixed. Love One Piece logic. Luffy's appearance after using Gear 5 is similar to what happened in Wano, but we know this is truly of no consequence, as he could go right back into Gear 5 if he wanted to. And for Gear 3, when he initially used it, it turned him small, and now Gear 5 is turning him old. The correlation, we have no idea, could be none, but maybe in the future we'll understand it better because we're learning so much about devil fruits. Bonnie waking up and seeing Luffy and not recognizing him genuinely made me LOL. But in the midst of everything, they can't fathom why the world government would take out someone as important as Vegapunk, just like Rob Lucci couldn't, because he's so valuable, right? And Vegapunk confirms that he never really planned on turning against them, but he understands why they would be so cautious. I mean, you can understand why Bonnie isn't a fan of Vegapunk, because we really haven't gotten to the explanation for Kuma yet, but he seems to be leaving with us, so we'll have time. It just seems like we're gonna stroll out of there because there's no ooh. Oh my. Kizaru is almost there, and he's almost cryptic about them escaping, right? And if CP0 has control of the Seraphim and Kizaru is pulling up with several warships, it will not go smoothly for the Straw Hats, because that is a lot of firepower to fight against. I just explained how dominant the Seraphim seem to be, and now you're adding a Navy Admiral with several warships. Yeah, scary. There's also the possibility of S Flamingo and S Crocodile on the horizon, so they might just be screwed for a little bit. They're gonna get away. It's just, wow, right? Before I end this, why don't you guys just let me know your thoughts or your guesses for Mihawk's possible devil fruit. What I was saying, that in this chapter, it reveals basically that Mihawk's devil fruit more than likely is a Paramecia type, so we've limited it to that at least. Which devil fruit do you think is Mihawk's at this point? Or S-Hawk, I should say. Next video, I'll reveal my answer. You guys just leave your answer below, and any thoughts you had about the chapter, because this one was certainly a doozy, and the information we're finding out is it's changing our perspective on literally everything. So ODA, don't stop.